Hi again. It's the BH Drum Pod with Ben Hodges here from bhdrumacademy.com. Thanks again for joining me. Today, I'm going to talk about something that's pretty overwhelming every time I go into a music store. And I remember my first times going into the music store when I was just starting to drum, and I was trying to figure out what the best drum heads are to buy. If you ever go to the drum head section, there is lots of them. There is a ton of different types you can get. And they come in all shapes and sizes, of course, depending on what drum you're getting. But they also all do different things. They come in different brands. And I found it super overwhelming to try and figure out what's the best one that I need. There's a variety of brands to choose from. The big ones being Remo or Aquarian and Evans, which is the drum heads that I use. And those are the ones I've kind of grew up knowing the most about was Evans. So all the drum heads I have are Evans because I understand them pretty well and they sound amazing. But I'm not sponsored by Evans or anything like that. But I do like their products a lot. But that being said, it still was really overwhelming because there's different models of all the drum heads you want. So today, what I thought is do a quick podcast on just talking you through the bare basics about drum heads so you can make a good educated choice with drum heads. Now, if you are a well-trained ear, if you have a well-trained ear and you understand tuning of your drums very well and understand how your drums sound the best, then you can definitely go farther by choosing the correct combination of drums and drum heads that will fit your drums perfectly. But if for a bare beginner who doesn't really know, like they notice that they need to buy a new drum head for the drum, but they don't really know what to do with it or what the best one is, this is going to help you. So I'm saying the word drum head a lot, but you can also change the word for drum skin as well. So a drum skin and a drum head are meaning the same thing, that's the conversation we're having. There's a couple things you need to know. For most drums, the average drum, you have a top head and a bottom head. The one on the top, the one that you hit, is called a batter head. So you might see that on the box sometimes, a batter head. A batter head is the top head, the side that you generally hit. And then you have the side of the drum that you don't hit, which is called a resonant head. You don't usually hit the resonant head at all because its job is to vibrate and create the tone. When you hit a drum, it changes the air pressure inside the drum, and the sound vibrations from the top head, the batter head, will push the air down, and it forces the bottom head, the resonant head, to also vibrate. And the combination of those sound waves from the vibration of the drum heads will create a tone. And if both of those drum heads are in tune with each other or on a certain key, they will vibrate and make a pleasant sound. But sometimes when the drum heads are not in tune or they do not make pleasant tones together or they're not in the same key, they'll make like a whoa, 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 whoa kind of sound, and it doesn't sound pleasant to the ear. So changing the tone and the tightness of your batter head and resonant head will also make your drum sound a little bit different. So learning to tune is an important skill, and I'll get there when we get there. Something about heads you also need to know when you're in the store is knowing the difference of knowing how many plies the material has. Ply, P-L-Y. How many plies the material has or the drum head has. So a 2-ply drum head means it has 2 layers. 1-ply drum head means it has 1 layer. A 3-ply drum head, well, you guessed it, has 3 layers. Generally speaking, more plies means more durable that it means. It's more durable, but it also produces a lower and a deeper sound. The less ply something has, it's a little less durable, means it's a bit more fragile, and the higher frequency sounds come, meaning it's a brighter, higher pitch tone. Okay. So more plies means a different sound, and less plies means a totally different sound in its own sense. And it's personal preference, depending on what style of music you play or which ones are the best ones. Okay. For the most part, most people will have two-ply drum heads on their batter side, the side that you hit, because people will, especially when you're learning, you might hit a little harder than you intend to, and you'll be probably divoting and making dents on, the batter side is going to get beaten up a little bit. So a two-ply drum head makes a bit more sense because it's a bit more durable. And on the other side, the resonant head, since it's not being hit a lot of the time, a one-ply drum head will be perfectly reasonable on the other side. And because it's a bit thinner, it will vibrate a little easier from the air pressure that changes inside the drum. When you hit the batter side, remember, it changes the air pressure inside the drum. And so it makes the resonant head vibrate. So it will vibrate easier and louder if it's a bit thinner. So most people will go with a two-ply drum head on the top and a one-ply head on the bottom. However, some people, it's been seen of a one-ply on top, one-ply on bottom. I've also seen two-ply on top, two-ply on bottom. The only really way to know what sounds good is to try it. See if it sounds really good. If it sounds good, go with that, right? You want your drums to sound good. So go with whatever sounds good to you. And of course, when you put these drum heads on, you got to tune them properly. Tuning them is like an essential skill that all drummers need to learn. I cannot stress that enough. So once you get the drum heads, sure, great. But putting them on, you got to learn how to tune those things to make it sound as best as it possibly can. What I personally use, I use a two-ply on the top and a one-ply on the bottom. That's what I personally use for all my drums. So if you ever look at my videos, you'll notice I have all that. And that's goes right across the board with my snare drum, with my toms. All of them have that, except my kick drum. My kick drum has their specialty drum heads for that. There's a specialty batter drum head, and there's a specialty resonant head as well. The resonant head for a bass drum is a bit thinner, but you can buy thicker ones as well. And the resonant head for bass drums, you'll notice it's pretty much the resonant head, meaning it's the side of the bass drum you can see if you were in the crowd. And some people put logos on it and the funny designs. And some people also cut a hole in the front of the drum head. And that's a place where you can put a microphone for the drums as well. But not everybody mics their drums the same way. That is a whole nother area and another tangent I can go down. But for the purpose of this podcast, let's maybe not go down that road. One thing also you might notice when you go to a music store and you're looking at purchasing drum heads, not only the plies, but also the different types of heads there are. There are coated drum heads, there are clear drum heads, there are specialty drum heads, and there's a variety of different things. So let's start with the coated drum heads. Now, the coated drum heads, often they come in the color white. Sometimes they come in the color black or different colors. They're generally more durable. And why people like the coated drum heads is because they're a bit more durable. It's like adding another layer to a two-ply drum head. It adds like a kind of a coating on the outside of it. It's kind of like a protection layer. And people like that because it's a bit more durable, but also it kind of creates a different sound versus a clear head. A coated head makes a more muffled sound. It kind of a bit more of a muffled sound, and it takes away a lot of the higher sounding frequencies. Or if you're used to like bass versus treble, more of the treble. And in the clear heads, it kind of creates, because it doesn't have that coating, it's just the two plies itself, or the however many plies, it's a more of a brighter and a clear sound. You're going to have a bit more of the treble sound or the higher frequencies that are in there. So that is the big difference between those two, a coated and a clear. From time to time, I will switch it up just based off of what sounds I kind of need, especially if I'm recording. If I'm recording, I like clear heads. If I'm playing lots of live stuff, I like coated. So it depends on what you really like. And there's also some specialty drum heads. And these specialty drum heads are used for different problems that kind of exist. For example, one of the specialty drum heads that I've seen is called a hydraulic drum head. And it's like a special layer of oil that is in between two plies. It's like a sandwich, like a ply sandwich, like an oil in between it. And when you hit the drum, the oil that's in there kind of stops the vibration and deadens the sound pretty quickly. So some people have the problem where their drums ring for a long, long time. And that's called sustain. And it rings for a long time. So some people like some features of drum heads that muffle that sound or deaden that sound and make the drum stop ringing faster. Another type of drum head is like one specifically, I'll do a shout out to Evans real quick, but Evans has an EMAD type of drum head. And it's basically a special ring, like a felt ring that's on the outside of the drums. And that's one you'll see a lot in all of my videos is these EMAD rings. And basically, it's also designed to stop the drum from ringing, but not as severely as the kind of a hydraulic. So I liked the idea of having the hydraulic one because I had the ringing problem too, but I didn't want it as bad. Okay, so that kind of really helped me control that as well. There's also ones that come in lots of variety of colors, different styles or textures. For snare drums, for example, there's lots of specialty heads for snare drums. There's one where I've seen a snare drum head where they have tiny little holes around the edge of it, and that's to kind of relieve some of the air pressure and also make the drum sound a little bit different and a little more crispy clear. There's the drum head that I have on my snare drum right now has a specialty circle, like a sticker almost on one side of the drum head because the snare drum gets hit the hardest and the most, that small little sticker on the inside, adds so much more durability and strength to the drum head. So it doesn't have so many divots and dents inside of it. It kind of protects it. So it's amazing the technology that goes with a lot of these drum heads. If you really look into how it's made and looking at like the shape of the lip of which is the edge of the drum head, like and how it sits in relation to the drum, it's super fascinating. But like I said, it's very overwhelming. So in a nutshell, this I'm talking specifically for all you beginners out there who are just never really sure what drum head to buy. I recommend as a starting point, 2-ply drum heads on the top and a 1-ply drum head on the bottom. That's kind of a general basic standard for lots of people. I would recommend a clear drum head for your resonant head, which is the bottom. And I would recommend, and you can choose if you want a coated or clear. Remember, coated drum head is a bit more muffled sound. A clear drum head is a bit more of a brighter sound or like a higher pitch sound and clear sound. So choose what you think is going to sound the best for all of those. I suggest also using the same brand all around the drum. So if you're using Evans, use Evans all around. If you're using Remo, use Remo all around. If you're using Aquarian, use Aquarian all around. And because they are all made by the same factory, they'll also sound the same. And I also want to just point out, if you notice any problems that with tuning or even just the sound of your drums, you could look at the drum head as the problem. You could say, well, maybe if it's ringing too long, if the drum head's in tune, but it rings too long, you can solve that problem by maybe adding a little bit of tape or a little bit of muffling gel or moon gel, or little gels or stickies to kind of stop the ringing. Or you could look into getting these specialty heads that may solve some of these problems. But a lot of problems with the sound of the drum head, honestly, come from tuning. Okay, come from tuning the drums. So if you don't know how to tune your drums, learn it. Please learn how to tune the drums. I cannot stress that enough. That is how you make your drums sound the best it possibly can. And you can't record it really well without a good tuned drums. It starts internally. Computers cannot fix bad sounding drums. Okay, it really can't. Make them sound great, but they can't fix bad tuned drums. It physically won't do it. So please, if you own an acoustic drum kit, please learn how to tune the drums. I have some great resources if you want to learn how to do that. For more information about drum heads and even how to tune the drums, check out my website, bhdrumacademy.com. Check out my YouTube. It's lots of great free resources out there. If you ever want me to tune the drums with you or show you how to do it on your drums, I'm absolutely happy to. I'm available for consults, online lessons, whatever you might be. If you want an hour of my time to ask any questions you want to, please reach out. And I would love to answer any questions you have. But until next time, my friends, get back to practicing those drums, and I will talk to you in the next podcast. Peace.